It's November of 2022, and I'm walking into the stairs of my house, and I'm already pissed off because I've spent the entire day up until this point getting genuinely bullied, getting harassed because I'm kind of the fat kid in the friend group. I remember throughout the entire day having all of my friends do nothing but just shit talk me, make fun of me, and just make me feel below them. And so as I'm walking into my room, I just keep on reliving all those moments where I was being bullied. I was the worst kid on every single sport that we played. And in that moment, I want to do nothing more than just sit down on my computer, open up Minecraft, and just play for the next 8 hours. Just escape and do nothing more. But as I'm sat there on my computer and I'm about to load up Discord, I stop myself. Because in that moment, I realize playing another 8 hours of video games isn't going to make me any less fat. It's not going to make my friends respect me more. And so instead, I decide to take out a piece of paper, put my computer away, and draft on this piece of paper this exact plan, this roadmap that I'm going to use to finally stop being the fat kid. On this paper, I write down shit like, oh, I'm going to exercise more. I'm going to eat clean. I'm going to stop playing video games anymore. I'm going to wake up early. I'm going to study more. And so after about 10 minutes, I have this entire detailed outline of how I'm going to go from this fat little, basically brown iPad kid to suddenly getting respected from my friends, suddenly not feeling below them. And I'm feeling really hype. And so I tape that piece of paper on my wall. But fast forward a few days and I quit. I'm sat there on my computer on Minecraft, basically just in this like hypnotized state because I can't stay consistent. I was genuinely doing pretty good for like 4 days. I was on, instead of random gaming videos, I was learning about fat loss. Instead of being sat there playing 8 hours of video games, I was working out, I was studying, I was being productive. But that morning, as I looked into the mirror, I didn't see any progress, and so I decided to just quit. Because it doesn't seem to be working, and so I might as well just go back to being a fat ass. But as I'm sat there on my computer, in this little trance that I'm in, I feel this pain of not only being the fat kid, but this pain of knowing that however much I try, even though I want to improve my life, I never stay consistent. I tell you this story because for 5 years of my life, I was in the exact same position as you're in right now. I know what it's like to be the fat kid, to not feel respected. And what I realized after just reflecting for a few days is it's not even being fat. It's not even being this large kid in the friend group that really makes you feel like a piece of shit. It's the fact that even though you want to improve, even though you know what you have to do, you're never consistent. And so I remember those days when I would get fat shamed and I felt like I was beneath everyone. It wasn't because I was fat, it was because I felt like I was stuck as I was. And that's the worst feeling that any fucking sixth grader could feel like. But that's all changed now. In the last 2 years, I've been able to lose about 18 pounds. I've changed my life completely. I've quit all my addictions. And I'm going to show you in this video how I went from this fat little gooner to finally being free of these addictions, finally making progress in real life. And the way I'm going to do it is actually show you how I changed my life using video game logic. And that sounds kind of weird because you might not think that losing fat and playing fucking Genshin Impact are related, but just hear me out. What do you think is more stimulating, more motivating than video games? If you really think about it for a second, there's nothing that compares to it. Video games are probably the most fun shit that you've done all your life, right? So if we just use the tactics that these games use to keep us hooked and just apply them to fat loss, we can make this a truly enjoyable journey, right? It wouldn't just be this mindless little depressed period of our life. We'd actually have fun doing it. And so the way I'm going to explain this to you is I'm going to give you a little analogy. I remember a few years ago, I was playing this one game called Bee Swarm Simulator. If you don't know what that is, it was this random shitty little simulator on Roblox where you'd be sat there in this game and you have all these bees that are around you that will just collect pollen for you. You just sit there, collect the pollen, then you get honey because of it. And I remember playing this game every single day. In fact, there was this one event that I remember where there was this limited time bee or this tool, I don't even remember, that you could get if you grinded enough in the game. And so I remember for genuinely 4 weeks, if not even more, I would just sat there for hours every single day grinding. I was in these servers with my friends just grinding over and over, getting more honey, leveling up my bees so I could get this new tool. And it was pretty fucking fun, I'll be honest. I had so much fun doing this. And then the day of the event finally comes. And so I'm sat there on the server with my friends. And I get the new tool that I was grinding for. But I'll be honest, I was sat there for like 30 minutes. And yeah, it was pretty fun. I was actually pretty hyped with my friends. But after grinding for weeks on end, I genuinely felt kind of empty. I didn't know what to do with this tool. I just felt bored out of my mind that I spent all this time and it didn't even feel that fun. And so I was reflecting on that moment that I felt a few days ago, and I realized that it wasn't the end result that felt the most motivating. You might be under the impression that maybe it's losing fat or some random video game you're playing. You've always had this idea that, okay, once I get the result, I'll be really fucking happy. It'll be the most fun part of the journey. But what I found is that that's not actually the case. It's not the day, if I remember correctly, it wasn't the day where I got the tool that felt the most fun. It was actually the day where I made the most progress towards the goal. It was the day where I got the most honey, the day where I killed the most monsters that actually felt the most fun. And so what I want to tell you with this analogy is that motivation doesn't just come from the end result. It comes from progress. When you make progress towards any goal, whether it be losing fat, getting straight A's, quitting your addictions, those will be the days where you feel the best. And so the reason I'm bringing this up is because there are two types of people that try and lose fat. And I'm going to tell you, there's only one type that actually gets results. There is the New Year's resolution guy and then there's the other guy called the intelligent, actual progress maker. And I'm going to explain what each of these people do. The New Year's resolution guy, when you try and lose fat, and I mean both of these people, by the way, what would happen is I'll be there like it was a New Year's resolution. I'll tell myself, oh shit, I'm going to lose 100 or 10 pounds in 4 months. I'm going to get jacked. I'm going to get all this respect. And you go in with this mindset of, I'm just making sure that, okay, there's still battery. I would go in with this mindset of, I get motivation when I see results. And so what would happen is I would be sat there actually being pretty productive, working out, quitting my addictions, making progress, but I was never satisfied. Because the only thing I was measuring was how close I was to the end goal. And the reason this is retarded, and if you're doing this, this is the reason that you're stuck. It's because when you focus entirely on the end result, getting jacked or losing 10 pounds, you're delaying this point of satisfaction to where you're only going to be motivated when you hit the result. This is stupid. This is retarded, and I'll tell you why. Fat loss doesn't work like a video game exactly, where you make a linear amount of progress. It's not like this straight event where you just make a shit ton of progress every single day. It's more like you don't make any progress for 2 or 3 weeks. Then you see a little bit, and then it shoots up, and you see a crazy amount. The reason that this mindset of the New Year's resolution guy is stupid is because when you're only satisfied when you get to this end result, this distance, this time of 2 or 4 or 6 months where you don't see any results, it's going to feel like torture. It's going to feel horrible, right? So, how do we fix this? Well, we become what I like to call the enlightened fat loss guy. And here's how it works. Instead of basing your satisfaction on you getting the end result, you getting jacked, we just focus on doing the action today and ticking it off, almost like it's a daily quest that we've set for ourselves. And here's the reason this works. It might take you genuinely 2 years to get jacked. You might listen to these shitty influencers who tell you, oh, how to get jacked in 2 weeks. No, it takes about 2 years to actually make a meaningful amount of progress. You're going to get demotivated if you try and just focus on that end result. So what the enlightened guy does is we instead focus on the quick 1 day objective that we set for ourselves, the daily quest that we have that will eventually lead us to the goal. And the reason this is so powerful is because you need to have a new mindset. You're not separated from this goal by days or months or years. You're separated by actions. And when I understood this, I was like, holy shit, it makes so much sense. Instead of focusing on the 1,000 days ahead of you, just focus on the next step, the next objective, the next quest that you're ticking off. And then over time, because the time will pass by eventually, you will get jacked. When you realize this, when you have this new mindset, you become unstoppable. And it was only when I finally embraced this that I went from this fat little gooner to finally making progress. And I'm going to tell you another thing, this is a little bit deeper. When you just set the objective of, I just want to work out today, I'm just focusing on the next step ahead of me, you don't actually feel like you're this fat little gooner anymore. What's weird is, even if you haven't made a shit ton of progress, if you just focus on that short-term action that you're putting in, you stop feeling like you're beneath everybody else because you know you're putting in the work. I remember a few weeks ago, I was sat there with one of my friends, and he was one of those little dickhead friends that'll randomly fat shame you, right? And so he started doing that. And I had this moment where I wanted to lash out at him. I wanted to feel bad. But I stopped myself. Because what I realized was, okay, sure, I might look fat right now, but I'm putting in the work. And if you're putting in the effort, suddenly you don't feel like you're beneath everybody else because you're making progress. When you just laser in on the short-term, quick, but meaningful activity of, oh, I worked out today, you'll just feel like less of a piece of shit. When you lay down at the end of the day, instead of having those negative thoughts swirl around you, you're going to feel good because even though it's just a small step forward, you made progress. I've written down here a little action step for you. You're going to tell yourself, raise up your hand right now, and with me, say this. The time is going to pass by anyways. And so I'm going to focus on my inputs. That is all. If you take that one piece away from this video of just focusing on the inputs, I guarantee you're going to make 10 times more progress than the version of you that clicked off this video because of the shitty attention span and just procrastinated and sat there like a fat ass, because fat loss is just 90% a mindset game. Because you already know how to lose fat. You already know this. We just need to work out, eat better food, right? And you'll eventually, not be a fat ass anymore. So instead, you just need to learn this mindset of focusing on the inputs, and this journey becomes easy, bro. I hope this video is pretty valuable for you, right? And I understand, bro. This is a painful journey. It's going to be the hardest thing that you're going to do. But it doesn't have to be that way. On the bottom of the description, I put a link to a new Discord server that I've just created, where I'm just going to let in a handful of dudes who actually want to make progress. Just come into the Discord, and I'll just give you advice from my experiences, from moving on in this journey of being the fat kid to now quitting all my addictions, becoming a straight A student, and losing over 18 pounds. And if you want advice from somebody you can actually relate to, then from some random little jacked but shitty influencer online, then I think that Discord would be a perfect fit for you. So go and join right now. And as always, my name is Atharv. See you soon, bro.